Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.
It's the After the Show podcast, precious.
We don't care, we're about to swear on the air. It's the After the Show, so tune in if you dare. KVJ, get risque every single day. It's uncensored. We can say what we want to say.
Yeah, here we go. It is the KVJ After the Show podcast. As we noted, though, anytime anybody's out, we got to rearrange the initials, so it's just KVDS today. Bird is out with a fever and a sore throat. He went to get a rapid test for COVID that came back negative, but can't tell you how many people are hitting us up saying, you know, he still needs to get a PCR test because the rapid COVID tests are only 60% accurate.
Oh, boy.
Even though he tested negative on the rapid, since he is symptomatic, he needs to take the PCR test.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So there's several tests that say that.
Where's the anal swab test? That's the one I want to sign him up for.
Yeah, I think that was in China. They were doing that when people were coming in from America. They're like, oh, we'll show you. Drop your pants. Yeah, so I don't know. And it sounds like the PCR, I'm sure probably that's the one that's 2 days out, something like that. So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so maybe he's not back tomorrow.
What's I think we got the rapid, like the one that goes up real far in your nose. We got that, and it was rapid.
Yeah, I don't know. It's, everything keeps changing, and I don't know what it is. You know, my wife, she, for her job, has to test, and they test her there, and she just, in fact, went over the weekend. Like every other week, I think they have to go get tested, and they do a mouth swab now. But I couldn't even tell you which one she does. So I don't know. So
as long as he has symptoms, he can't come back. If he still feels yucky, we can't let him come back.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you've got a fever, then yeah, you can't do that. I mean, because that's, a sign you're contagious, whatever it might be. And somebody else texted in and said strep throat is going around. So maybe he may be clear for COVID.
But he got that
strep.
was,
but maybe he's got strep throat, and you don't want that either. So yeah, it's a tough era trying to figure out. Yeah, do we have the bird back tomorrow or not? So I don't know. I'd say that's still an iffy question, even though he got the negative on the rapid. So I'll have Denny's look into the PCR to find out where you would get that, and what the difference is today. So I don't know. If anybody has any information, you can let us know. Jump in on the KVJ TV chat room that we got going on right now. You can text us at 877-979-WRMF. And yeah, Perla reminds us that strep is super contagious. Yeah, we don't want that running through here.
We do not.
Yeah. We had that microphone, too, that he can just use from home and make sure he's good. So.
Yeah. It's just tricky because there's always a little delay.
Yeah.
When you're not actually in the room, it's really tricky. But, I mean, it's better than nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So we'll see what that winds up becoming. And if we'll get Bird back for sure or not. Is he really in the free and clear? We were talking about our impromptu donut poll that came up today on the show. And the voting is swinging radically. But it looks like somebody is really pinging for the Jupiter Donuts, and they're running away with it early with 51% of the votes right now.
I mean, that's up in my neighborhood. I try to get there early on a Sunday. I'll get there at like 8:30 thinking, okay, I'm early. And there's already a line of like 15 people waiting to get donuts.
Yeah.
They are killing it in Jupiter.
Yeah, they seem to be, I would say, from what I just hear people talking, maybe the most popular, and, they are local as well. Your Dunkin' and Krispy Kreme are tied for second, but they're at 14% of the vote, while Jupiter Donuts has 51%.
There's a lot to be said for the fact that Dunkin' has a drive-thru. I'm a mom. I'm busy.
Yeah.
I'm in a hurry. I would like all of them to have a drive-thru. My kid loves donuts, and we'll pick Dunkin' over anything else just because of convenience.
Yeah. And I got a text message from the 740 area code that says, I live in a small town in Ohio called Logan, and I want to know if Kevin is going to be voting for Krispy Kreme or a small little bakery called Penny's Bakery on Main Street.
Aww.
Penny's Bakery was owned by one of my friends in my neighborhood when I was growing up. And that's where I went in. And when I was at my fattest, when I was Fat Kev, I lived on Penny's Bakery's donuts. I told you they had the ones, I don't even know what the name of it is, but it was a donut, had powdered sugar on it, and it was a big slit down the middle, and they put this cream in it. And so when you'd bite, you know how the cream would get away? You'd be like, oh, no, you naughty cream. You know, like little fat kid games, you know how I'm licking the cream as it's running away from me?
No cream survived Fat Kevin.
No cream survived this fat kid in Penny's Bakery. Oh, my gosh, that was maybe the greatest joy in my life is the smell of Penny's Bakery. The donut shops smell amazing.
They do.
I would never have less than 4 donuts. That was my bare minimum. If I had less than 4, you knew that something was wrong. I was sick.
Are you okay?
I wasn't doing well. If I housed less than 4 donuts, I wasn't doing well. So, yeah, I think there's something special. I mean, you know, hey, all the big chains are great, but those local, just that flair, people love those. And almost every city I've been in has had their own unique, you know, like somebody's talking about the Dixie Cream Donuts, even on the Treasure Coast, which seems like they're pretty much just right there. There's something fun about that little mom and pop donut shop.
Yeah, we had Tasty Donuts in New Orleans growing up.
I've heard of those. Is that a bigger chain?
Tastee.
Yeah.
Tasty,
I think I've heard of those. Probably been there. They're fantastic. So if you want to go vote for that, sadly we didn't get Penny's Bakery on the list.
Sorry, Penny.
Had one vote out of Logan. But if you ever go to Logan, you got to go Pizza Crossing and Penny's Bakery.
You got it. We need to go with you.
Yeah.
We talked about doing hometown road trips.
Yeah, I hope that'll happen. And we'll see. You know, my reunions this year, this summer in July, I believe it is, July 24th. For Logan High School. That'd be my 30th. And
30?
So the crew would be there. So if you ever wanted to come and see the chaos, you could just watch. I'm not sure who all's alive because, you know, I know we've lost
a couple.
We've lost a Conley brother, and, you know, I'm not sure if the Cox boys will be there. But you bet your sweet ass someone is getting their ass kicked.
I just hope it's not me.
Oh, yeah. Someone is getting their ass kicked. Someone will get hit with a baseball bat. I mean, there will be.
Tough town.
Someone will be lit on fire. Yeah.
Did Penny fight?
No. Well, it was, and I don't know why it was still called Penny, because the Bennington zone, I don't know if they still do or not. I'm kind of removed from that.
Okay.
But no, he wasn't much of a fighter. It was, yeah, I lived in a tame neighborhood, and I think that's why. I grew up in the soft side of town.
Okay.
And so that was tough. Let me see. We got some interesting stuff going on in South Florida. South Florida right now is kind of a scary little place. There's a story today where there's a guy working valet, and these guys came out to get their car, and they're like, yeah, that'll be, you know, whatever, Miami Beach valet. That'll be $80. And
that sounds about right.
Yeah, and they're like, no. And they pulled a gun on him and grabbed their keys and took off. That happened at the Royal Palm South Beach Resort on Collins Avenue.
Wow.
And they finally pulled the guys over, and when they did, they not only had a ton of guns, but they had a high-powered assault rifle with them.
Oh, my.
So I don't know who these cats were, if they're doing like the Miami Vice thing or what, but I don't know. That's just kind of crazy. You imagine? I mean, like, I'm not standing in the way. I'm like, take your damn car. I mean, it's your car. I don't care.
Bye. I didn't see nothing.
No, I am not getting shot over this. So, and I saw, too, they arrested 2 spring breakers from North Carolina, accused of drugging, raping, and stealing from a woman who later died at a hotel in Miami Beach.
Oh, my God.
It's been a chaotic week.
That is sick.
Yeah. 2 guys brought a really extremely inebriated woman home, and they say the rape comes from the fact that they say she was so inebriated there's no way she could give consent, and they don't have the reason why she died, but crazy.
That's a mess.
She was 24.
Oh, how sad.
So, yeah, spring break's getting kind of a bad rap, and I saw Fort Lauderdale was kind of bracing for it. And I didn't realize this, but Fort Lauderdale came out, I guess, probably in the 80s, and they actively stopped promoting spring break, and they made it very difficult with all kind of ordinances and all that stuff, because that was the spring break stop. I think even more than Miami. And they said, no, we're done with it, because these kind of stories were happening. And I was reading today, as a result, they have more high-end hotels now, and they make more money on Fort Lauderdale Beach because they got rid of, because you think about it. I mean, you're talking about a lot of ratchet, trashy hotels.
Right.
For the most part, because I was in college once.
That's where we stayed.
We'd be looking for ratchet, trashy hotels, and Fort Lauderdale Beach is like, we don't want that. We don't need that.
No.
Like, the amount of people and the money we make in that month, it's not worth it, because you make everything so trashy that you give us a bad reputation, and we're going to lose money by having you guys here.
Well, good for them.
Yeah, and that makes sense why I was reading the New York Post today that parents are bribing their college kids to not go to South Florida on spring break because that kind of stuff. So there you go. Got an email here asking about Panama City. Tiffany's going to be going there.
Spring break.
That's where the guy skydived off the 14-story balcony. The freebase jumper and his chute didn't open up over the weekend.
He hit the ground, splat.
Yeah, he
died.
did. Yeah, she said, I listen to you guys every day on my 1-hour drive in the morning, hour drive in the afternoon, so it's off with the podcast, cooking dinner, everything in between. I know you guys asked for recommendations on best places to visit in a town wherever you travel. I've been to Panama City Beach, and I was looking for recommendations before I go next weekend. How strict are they with masks? Best restaurants, best bars, breweries, distillery, best beach things to do. Tiffany, been listening since the 4th grade, currently 30.
Aw.
Yeah, we'll have to get some. I have never been to Panama City.
I was there right before the hurricane. So a hurricane just came through there, I want to say like 2 years ago, and did a lot of damage because my dad had a condo right there on the beach, and they sold it right before the hurricane. And then he sent me pictures of it after the hurricane, demolished.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if they're completely 100% back from all that hurricane damage.
Yeah, and I don't know. Don't they have Floribama? Is that one? There's some bar up there, and I don't know if that's Panama City or Destin or the whole Panhandle. I've not even ever been to. The closest I've been is Tallahassee.
So I think the Floribama is on the state line.
Okay.
Yeah, where half the bars in Florida and half the bars in Alabama.
But all those towns, and I don't know. I could be completely wrong, but just as I was talking about, I think ratchet spring break areas. And am I wrong or am I right? Could Fort Lauderdale have become ratchet spring break all year round if they hadn't, try to not let spring breakers in? So, yeah, I don't know. So if anybody has any recommendations on that. But I will tell you, if you don't know, this is my total hack that I have now, and I'm trying to figure out how to, in fact, I have been sharing these with some people. I didn't even realize if you go into Maps, I figured this out when we had taken a trip around Thanksgiving, is that you can set up for a different city.
Earmark places.
Yeah. And for each different town. And even in South Florida, like I've got Fort Lauderdale, I've got Miami, I got the Florida Keys, I've got Orlando, one that I'd set up. I got 162 places in Orlando.
Wow.
But the cool thing about it is wherever you go, when you open up the map, you can see what's around you. So that often happens where we want to go someplace and we realize either it's closed or it doesn't look that great or they won't allow Canon in because it's 21 and older. And you're like, where do you go now? Well, you can just look on the map and be like going, I've got 10 places right within a mile vicinity of us.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to have if you're unfamiliar, unless you really, really know a town super well. And about the only town I know that well is West Palm. So that's why I've got all these different towns, because I might be in Lauderdale and maybe, hey, where do we want to go?
What's close by?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I've got Savannah, Atlanta, and each town that I go to like that, I make that. And, if you've got the iPhone, go in there and do that for a certain city if you're doing Panama City. And before you go there, like you can find all these, they do write-ups, best like hotel bars and breweries and all that. And I put all those things in there.
And go read the reviews, too.
Yeah.
A lot of these places have Yelp reviews and stuff, and you can go see what people are saying and see the pictures people took of places.
Yeah, so it's a cool way. I found that if you prep for a trip, you'll have so much more fun. You'll cram in so many more things. Because I couldn't imagine, you realize 6 months later, you went to all the shitty spots.
Right.
And you're like, we didn't do anything good. And now I see all these TikTok videos, cool things to do in Atlanta. My wife was showing me one yesterday. I'm like, we did all those. You know, so
Because you nailed it.
Because you got to nail it. Go do it. So if anybody wants set up, I'll do one for Panama City, and we'll get that cranking out there. So let us know, because I'm not the dude to ask on that town.
Yeah, I'm not either.
But even if you're not, like I wasn't on Savannah, you can easily do the research and figure it out. We got some questions here at Denny's, and he's come in here. It's from Jennifer, who stayed at a hotel in Tampa this weekend, and I may have dabbed before with friends, but it's not my expertise, so I'm coming to the expert. So if we can get Denny's here to answer some questions. He said, I get it. It's spring break. Hotels were packed. But a lot of doors on my floor had towels under the door. So we got somebody who was at a hotel over the weekend, and they said a lot of doors on my floor had towels under the door. The hotel wasn't giving out additional towels, and I had no idea why at first. Does no smoking in hotels apply to weed? That's question one.
I believe it does.
And so that would be why they're using the towels under the door so the smoke doesn't get out?
We used to do it all the time at my friend's grandma's house. You would stuff paper towels or regular towels under the doors and in the window seams and stuff so that the smoke wouldn't leak through, and then you close your air vent. That'd be the best way to do it. Then you open a window, you take a bunch of dryer sheets and stuff them in a toilet paper tube, and you blow your smoke through it, and it filters out the smell a little bit.
Okay.
This man has a process.
It's a whole thing. But back in the day, going into the hotels and smoking was sketchy because you can't. I mean, it'll set off an alarm, too. You always hope for the ones that have the windows that open. But a lot of hotels won't have opening windows. So what I usually do is I'll just go to the other side of the room or in the bathroom because they usually don't have the smoke detector in there. That's usually a pretty easy way around it. You have to smoke a lot, though, to set it off.
Okay. Well, this is a good, interesting question, too. She said, should the smell be so potent that even with towels under the door that it could wake you up from a dead sleep at 3 a.m.? Does that mean that that's good quality weed or bad quality weed?
That's good weed. If
Okay,
it can
so
wake
if
you
it's
up,
really-
if
The
it's real skunky.
stinkier is better?
Yeah, so even weirder, there's this one strain of weed that smells like dog crap. It's awful. When you're from a distance and after it's been smoked, you're like, it smells like dog crap. Like you were picking up dog crap, you got some on your finger or something.
Really?
And it's awful. And it took me a minute to figure out. There's just this one strain of weed. It's very powerful. It just sucks that it smells kind of like dog crap.
Oh, that's so nasty.
It's because it's so skunky. It just has almost like a funky scent to it. But yeah, they're getting really good. Real profound smells these days. And they also have some that are less, perfumey. Mm-hmm. They have every variation you can imagine now.
Wow, okay.
But yes, you have to. If you're going to smoke in a hotel, which, I mean,
Yeah.
do what you will, but I would just definitely stay away from the smoke detector thing and throw some towels under your door. It does help.
And make sure they don't smell it in the room because they make you sign this thing now and put, like, if you smoke in the room, it's like a $250 charge.
Absolutely. So the cigarette smoking is way different because, I mean, they'll chain smoke 15 to 20 cigarettes in a day, you know, at a hotel and staying in the walls, and it lingers for so much longer. The pot smoke, given it still is smoke, but if you're doing like one or two bowl rips, it'll dissipate pretty quickly.
Okay.
Now, if you're throwing a college-style party at a hotel room, it's definitely going to set off the alarm, and it's definitely going to smell like pot.
Okay.
It will. There's no way around it. You got to open a window.
Yeah.
So.
I didn't realize that. Do you notice that where people take the towels and cram them under the door? Is that
I've seen it. It's pretty common. I do it, I try not to smoke in hotels anymore. If I do, it's like out, nowadays they got the vape stuff. It's so different. You don't have
walk.
to.
Yeah, it seems like that's a young stoner's game.
Just talking to my friend the other day about how easy it is to smoke weed now anywhere.
Yeah.
You can't tell. Soccer moms are smoking it at games, watching their kids play sports because you can't even tell. And it dissipates. If you're outside, it's gone immediately. Everyone's wearing masks these days too, socially distancing, so it's even easier. And cops are so used to seeing him now from the vape pens, the jewels.
Yeah.
They don't even.
Right.
I don't even think they bat an eye anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like
a buddy
you
of mine
can't
has
tell.
one of those little weed pens, and it's nothing. Yeah. You would have no idea, and you can easily just discreetly, and I don't really have any smell or anything. I don't even notice it.
I used to smoke in the high school bathroom, right?
Yeah.
We would have to air it out. You'd have to go outside and stand in the wind. You'd pop mints like we had Bananka
Yeah.
or whatever. And you would have to spray yourself with cologne, stand outside for 10 minutes, and then go back to class.
It's a lot.
It was a lot of work to do to,
Yeah.
be bad at school,
I'm curious when it comes, because we were talking earlier about bartenders judging people for the drinks that they ordered. And you said this a lot, and it's so true, Virginia. How many of those drinks were you like, that's a young person's game? That's what you order if you're 20 and you're at the bar. And is it the same way with weed? Because with alcohol, you could tell if you told me a drink order, you can come up with almost a profile of the person, of who they are based on what they ordered.
Absolutely.
Does that correlate to weed? And what's the differences on the ages? And do you have like, okay, I'm a dude that wears a suit and tie, so I'm going to have this kind of weed probably. And I'm a soccer mom, so I'll have this kind of weed. And I'm a 24-year-old college student, so I'll have this.
Yeah. There's tons.
Is it by strains? Is it by vapes? Is it by edibles? Is it what seems to be the difference?
I think it's the vehicle. So if people are smoking joints, they're probably old-timey. Unless,
an old stoner, a Willie Nelson's still going to do joints.
I just don't see many kids smoking joints these days. I mean,
Snoop Dogg, is he still a joint guy?
See, I mean, he's got his own lines now, and he's got his own glassware. I mean, if he's so he's old school. If I had to guess, like your Willie Nelsons, your Snoop Doggs, your Dr. Dre's, they're probably all smoking joints still. And actually, guaranteed, they're probably smoking blunts. Willie Nelson's probably smoking joints, but I bet you Snoop and Dre are smoking blunts.
Okay.
And I think it's just because that's what they grew up with.
So that's a middle-aged stoner that in the 90s
It's a different high, too, because it's a tobacco leaf is what you're rolling it in. So you kind of get a little bit of a nicotine buzz on top of smoking pot. So it gives you a different buzz. I think that's maybe some of the appeal. Plus, I mean, it's almost like you're doing that with a group of 3 people. You're all smoking the blunt. So, I mean, it's kind of same with joints. You pass them around. It's kind of like a communal thing.
Okay.
And I think that's just they've come out with such modern ways now of smoking. You can probably guess people's age range based on how they're smoking, unless they're doing it to pay homage to the old ways.
I'll test it right now. If there's anybody in the chat room, if you want to put Denny's to the test.
Yeah,
you have to tell me what it is you use to get high, and then you have to volunteer your age. And what would you need? Age and gender?
Yeah, I would say like age.
Does it break down by
and what they're
ethnicity too?
smoking?
Because I know on alcohol, I would say that a lot of times ethnicity affects what you drink.
Sure.
And the culture and where you grew up. And,
Absolutely.
and who you were with.
I'm sure that plays a part. I'd say age mainly, just because, I mean, I'm thinking if younger generation, probably you're 20 to 30. You still got the lungs for the bongs. You could take those giant bong rips, I used to have a 4-foot bong, right? I could not do a 4-foot bong rip anymore. That's a young man's game. It was a crowd pleaser. If you-
That's like a bong bigger than Rocco.
You have to have somebody else light it because you can't reach it. Somebody else has to.
And
It's a
the whole
two-person.
tube fills up with smoke.
Oh yeah, you have to angle it, and it's a 2-person job. And
Can you knock yourself out with just one of those with one massive bong rip?
yeah, well, one of my friends took a gravity rip. That's where you fill up a trash can or a bathtub full of water, and you take a 5-gallon bucket and you drill a hole in it, and you put one of those little like metal socket wrench things in there.
Yeah.
And you pack that up, and then you use the force by pulling it up through the water, the suction, the vacuum it creates to pull the smoke into the chamber, and then you take it off and you take a hit. My buddy took a hit so big once when he was coughing, he fell off the balcony on the 2nd floor. The paramedics had to come. Yes. He coughed so hard.
That would be so. I mean, and that kills your buzz, right? When
Oh,
your buddy
yeah.
coughs himself off a balcony.
He landed in a bush and on a kid's like little plastic bike. Yes. The paramedics had to come. It was rough. Fire crew came. It was crazy.
Oh my god!
So you can take big rips
Wow.
and cough. I just think the bongs, man, for the older generation, like even where I'm getting the bongs, if you're doing giant bong rips, it does tear up your lungs a little bit, especially after you've abused them for so long. But
Okay, somebody put in here Dutch Masters.
Dutch Masters, that's rolling blunts.
Okay, what would you say if you had to guess a profile?
Dutch Masters were big, I'd say, through the 90s and early 2000s, and probably late 80s.
Do you think it's male or female?
I'd say male.
Okay.
Male rolling blunts.
About what age do you think?
If I had to guess, if they're rolling Dutches, I'd say they're between probably 38 and 45.
He's going 34.
34.
34-year-old male. Junior is going Dutch Masters. Okay, what about pen edibles? Pen and edibles for the most part.
Smoking pens.
Are we talking male,
so the
female?
Vape pens. I mean, I see a lot of females on the vape pens.
Okay, you're right on the female part. What about what age?
And the edibles too. They're nice because a lot of people, funny enough, they want to smoke pot, but they don't want to actually smoke.
Right.
And there's ways to not smoke now. That's usually a younger person's game. Although the edibles, I know some of the older generation likes it because they don't have to smoke. And if you weren't a smoker, it would make sense that you would go to the pen or the edibles. I'm gonna put her.
It's 37.
Okay.
Damn, she's a little bit older.
37-year-old female. That's what she does.
Yeah, see, that's what it's tricky because there's so many different ways you can smoke.
Somebody gave Panda, it's called Sour Patch Dummies.
Oh yes, the Sour Patch Kids are.
They're Sour Patch like gummies, but they're pot in them.
Oh yeah, so they got the Nerd Ropes. I've seen Chex Mix. The edible game is next level now. They've now in typical fashion, they've gotten even more powerful with the doses. So I guess what was happening was people were like, "Oh, I have to eat half a bag to feel it, right?" And so now when you get a high dose one and you eat half the bag, you can't. So you got to make sure you read your doses because it will take you to a new place.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of older
that is the absolute worst, man.
the older generation, I think, is like, oh, I'll have 3 of these or something like that. And they don't realize that they're like 50 milligram ones or something. And then they think they're in outer space. Or I remember my dad's friend was telling me a story because he smoked weed in his youth and a little bit but he went away from it. And
but he's your dad's age.
Yes. And he had to have been like maybe like 60 at the time. And he's like, man, I always just wanted to kind of smoke pot again. I know your son or smokes pot. So I was like, yeah, I'll get him some pot. That's fine.
Yeah.
His girlfriend at the time came to like yell at me because she found him at a donut place and he was lost and he was trying to order like 100 donuts. And they couldn't find him for 3 hours. He didn't bring his phone. This is back when cell phones weren't like on you at all times.
Right, yeah.
So he didn't have his cell phone. They found him wandering. Eventually he was reported. That's how they found him. Because he didn't have his wallet, his cell phone, anything. And he didn't know where he was.
Oh my gosh.
So
he was in outer space.
He was in outer space and she went and found him and stuff. And I got reprimanded for that. But his thing was that the new weed is too powerful. He's like, the weed we used to get, you'd smoke, 3 or 4 joints and everybody would be hanging around. He's like, in those days, you pass it around, you'd only get to hit it once or twice. Yeah. Because it'd be a whole circle of people. So you'd roll a bunch of them. Yeah. He's like, take one hit off this new stuff and you can't believe what's happening.
Oh, it's unbelievable. I did 2 hits of that one in Portland, and I'm like, I'm not making my flight.
The new
I
chronic.
was like that guy. I could see myself at a donut shop trying to order $100 worth of donuts.
That's it, and he had no money. He was just asking for donuts.
It was terrifying. I'm like, Kevin, stop being high, and I couldn't talk myself out of it.
The new weed is so powerful, but I've moved to, and it's all, who knows, it's all in an attempt to, I guess, as they keep coming out with this stuff, to smoke less.
Yeah,
is the goal.
I get it,
because become more aware about
it's more
the
efficient.
damage smoke does to you.
Right.
So
yeah.
the vaping is a good. I mean, it's still pretty new in the game, so you can't say it's the safest, but it definitely is a safer alternative. Edibles a safer alternative.
Yeah.
The tinctures, the droplets, the pills, all those are safer alternatives. But the newer dabbing, you can take just the tiniest little dab, and it lasts like an hour. It's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. And you're inhaling so much less smoke.
You can see how many people they're bringing into it, and they're getting people like me who've never really done much with it, and as they legalize it and it can happen, and you want to do just wants to knock out a little bit of stress, take an hour where they can relax.
Well, that's
what a great little thing to do where it's simple. And I wouldn't smoke. If it were smoking, I'd be like, nah, I'm not going to do that. Healthy guy, not going to mess with my lungs.
Yeah, and there's no reason to, especially if you're still interested, there's no reason to have to actually smoke
so they're
it.
smart in what they're doing.
Yeah, I'd say droplets is the best. 3 drops in the water, and just in your drinking water anyway.
Philly's blunt.
Oh, Phillies, those are
What do you
classics.
think
So
that
those are all
is?
blunts too. I mean, blunts are tricky because they were incredibly popular. That's what we kind of started on. In fact, when I first went to parties, and I'm trying to impress the chicks, I'd always offer to roll the blunts because it's like first
It was a skill.
It was a skill. It's showing off your worth, and you also get rollers' rights, so you get to smoke it first.
Oh,
Rollers' rights.
Rollers' rights.
So it was always you wanted
I
to.
would have to do that because there's no way I could smoke it after anybody else.
You're so germ
I would need
phobic.
rollers' rights.
Well, so there's different ways to do it. A lot of people use saliva to roll it. I was always cutting edge. I'd buy one of those Arizona iced teas that you used to love, the same one. I used to always get it, and the outside of the thing would sweat a little bit from sitting out in the air. I'd wrap the blunts around that so that would keep it moist.
Oh.
That way I didn't actually get saliva on anything.
That's kind of gross.
That's why you're a top end roller.
Well, that's I always put it around the Arizona iced teas.
That's why you always get rollers' rights.
That's why you get the rollers rights. But we're talking
male, female. What do you think?
I'd still say male.
Okay,
they tend
you're
to
right
bake
on that.
more on the blunts.
What age do you think?
Man, it's an older game. I know it's still cool. People still do smoke blunts in groups. I imagine with COVID, it's got to be diminishing.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to imagine it is.
You'd think.
Everybody's on their own
You would
pens.
think.
I would still feel it's an older generation person, man. I'd have to put it in the late 30s, early 40s.
44.
Oh.
Danny's
look at
right on
you.
it.
Yeah, it's tricky because what's weird is like Seth Rogen's coming out with weed, which everyone's real hyped for. He's got his reserve stash and stuff.
Yeah.
But even when he talks about when he smokes, the stuff that he's coming out with is still just variations. I don't know if he necessarily even does all the variations of pot that he has coming out.
Yeah.
So I know some of the old school guys love the smoke because it reminds them of when they actually used
It's
to.
nostalgic on top of it.
Absolutely.
I get that. Yeah.
All the kids I see now, I never see any kids smoking. Well, I don't see kids smoking pot because I'm not hanging around kids smoking pot. But even in cinema, I don't see them.
Yeah, I see
They're
the
all on-
Juuls.
they're all on Juuls. They're all on electric.
Around my daughter's age, it's all Juuls.
I don't
that
see
they
them
have.
rolling blunts
Yeah.
or joints anymore. I just don't even see it.
Yeah.
So it could be a dying art form, or maybe it's re-kick started by pop culture. I don't know.
Have you ever heard of raw paper? Somebody's asking
Raw
about
papers
raw
are the best. Those are the best ones because it's not tobacco leaf and it's not. So the big problem with the old rolling papers was that it was paper, and when you burned it, you're singeing it, so you're breathing in. It's essentially like burning paper.
Okay.
So the raw ones, I believe, are made from the hemp leaf.
Okay. I'm
And
learning.
it's like pulp, and they grind it down to a thin iridescent paper.
What would you say we have here if we got
Raw's
raw
younger
paper?
generation, I'd have to say. That's a newer product. I mean, newer in the last like 15 years, but
Okay.
it's still relatively new. I would say they'd have to be a little bit younger, and they'd have to be a little bit more healthy. I mean, not really, but I mean, a little bit more.
They're saying 43-year-old Mexican female.
Oh.
How about that? Mexicana.
Yeah, and also I know in the islands they roll joints differently. They do the spliffs, so I know that rolling papers are more popular in the islands. At least when I learned down when I was in the Caymans. First day on the Caymans, you got to start asking taxi drivers how to get some pot.
Oh, same thing with Jamaica.
That's what you got to do. Yeah, you got to start asking right
You
away.
always ask the taxi driver.
'Cause they know everybody. It's the greatest tip.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. I don't know if we need to let Bird know. People are hitting us up about he needs to do a PCR test because the rapid ones are not very accurate, I guess. I don't know.
So I guess if you want the due diligence, you could go. Those do take like 2 days. I mean, if he's going to be out anyway, might as well just go do it for the extra peace of mind.
I guess we'll figure it out. We'll let management decide what to do.
I think he got the PCR. Look at the text message he sent us because
He sent the confirmation.
he screenshotted
Does it say
it.
PCR on it? Are those? Can you do those rapidly? I don't know. I don't know.
It says your antigen test is negative.
Yeah, but is that? I don't even know.
I don't know either.
It doesn't say
What's
the word
the
PCR
difference?
on it.
No, it just says test results negative.
Okay.
But if you still have symptoms, it says you should get another test.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I believe him and his father both did it, and they both came back negative.
That's good.
So, I mean, that's at least a double
yeah,
in the
'cause
favor of the test.
if he got it from his dad, then his dad would have had it first. And so, yeah, his dad, if he's really got COVID, probably would have tested positive.
Though the timeline makes sense because, I mean, I think it was the second day his father was here. I just happened to pass through literally right as he was coming in. So I didn't, like I said, I had no real interaction. I have way more interaction with Bird. So, I mean, we'll see.
Okay.
I'll let you guys know if I develop any symptoms. But as of right now, I feel
Oh,
fantastic.
geez. Yeah. All right. Well, we'll try to figure out what's going on with Jaybird. Hopefully, in some form, I would imagine, even if he can't be in studio, we can get him a mic today. So
Absolutely.
there will be some way that Bird will be on the show tomorrow. We'll just figure out in what form, live or remote. Thank you guys for all your emails, your texts, your help. You guys enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Goodbye.
Cleveland Clinic, Florida provides individualized treatment plans for excellent outcomes of health problems ranging from the most common to the most complex, even in cases considered untreatable by others. Cleveland Clinic, Florida. Every life deserves world-class care.